described what kind of a convention it was, and when I heard the subject, I said, heck, I've been there, you know, it's, well, and then they said, watch out for the blood on the floor. It didn't even bother me. I mean, I didn't even say, what? You mean phony blood or real blood? I mean, it didn't seem to matter. It's totally appropriate to have, you know, anything. I think the whole idea of the kind of films that attract everybody here and get people together with conventions like these is that they're real loose, you know. I mean, it's only uptight people that don't like films like this. It's people who are like remote and afraid of each other. Some people have the wrong idea about the horror genre. It actually, I think, it brings out the best in people because it's people that are willing to just let it all hang out, not to be too uptight. Anyway, that's what I'm into. So. They asked me, would I answer some questions here? So go ahead. We don't have that much time. I'm ready. Go ahead. Ask me. Once more. Will we see Norman again? Okay. This subject itself could take the entire 40 minutes I'm going to be here, but I will keep it down to the bone. It's like this. The whole idea, in order to make a Psycho sequel, or for that matter, in my opinion, the sequel to any movie that's worth anything, you have to have a reason to make it which is not financial and not having to do with corporate structures and stuff like that. I mean, if a major studio looks at his books and looks at his performance records of some of his films and say, you know, we have to have another Karate Kid movie. We know how many people will go to it. We know how many theaters we can get. We know how many, how much we'll do on the first weekend. Call the people who created the first Karate Kid movie and order one up. Just say we have to have, I don't know if this has happened, I'm just making this up, using that as a title that has in fact been, at least one sequel been made. But I don't know if that's the right way. In fact, I know very well that it isn't the right way. And were we ever to make another Psycho picture, it would have to be because we had a good reason. The only decent reason, the only reason that has any dignity or any honorableness about it is that if there's a story to tell and more to tell about the characters. There's absolutely no other reason to do it. Even if a studio like Universal could say, listen, we can guarantee you X dollars and X weeks and X this and that. And we say, but the story doesn't make sense. We're positing a hypothetical Psycho 4. If the story didn't make sense, it would be unethical to make another Psycho film. So, to answer your question, will we see Norman again? If someone can come up with a good story. Now, I don't think I'm tipping anything. Actually, Universal is talking about a Psycho 4. They have a whole new filmmaking development down in Orlando, Florida. Did you know that? I don't know anything about this, but you do. And that seems to be one of the pictures they want to make, but I'm worried that perhaps they're not going to be making or wanting to make it for the reasons that I've just outlined here. So for whatever Psycho fans still breathe after some of the sins that have been committed on the sequels, we won't make another Psycho film unless we have a good story. I actually thought the story of Psycho 2 was very, very good, and because it exonerated Norman, you know, it made him be the guy that things were being done to, and I thought that was a real good deal. The trouble with Psycho 3, it turned out, you never know about these things until it's sometimes too late or just right or whatever, but you don't know until later. We didn't realize that really with Psycho 3 we were almost retelling the story of Psycho 1. There was too much of Psycho 1 and Psycho 3 in it. So that's why I think it was one of the reasons that people didn't respond to it as much as they did. Yes, sir?
Okay, Toby Hooper said he wasn't. I'm wondering if you were. Were you aware of the Gein story when you were filming?
Oh, sure.
And did you study on him?
No, I didn't study on him because from we're talking about the original Psycho, how it really happened, you know, the real guy. Hitchcock was very, not insistent, but he discouraged investigation of the real story. He wanted, first of all...
What about you personally?
No, I didn't, because I followed his instructions. I did whatever he wanted to do. He was a good fellow, and I felt I wanted to, you know, play it his way. I think that's the only way you'll ever get any movie made, is if the actors, particularly the principal actor, like in a case like this, is willing to do what the director wants to do, you know, thematically and acting-wise and whatever. You got to go along with the director. You got to link arms with the guy. Whatever he suggests, you got to make it your thing. If you have your thing, if he has his thing, well, that just takes time and it makes discord, and I'm not into it. So it would be consistent with my character that if he said don't study the original case, I wouldn't have studied, and I did. Just a little bit more to that. Oh yeah, he was essentially he was making a comedy after all. He knew it was going to be a comedic film, and therefore he didn't want to have the deep dark past of, you know, it's a very unhappy story. Yes. Did he think of Psycho a comedy? Yes, Hitchcock thought of Psycho as a comedy. But you know, we're laughing here, but that's because most of the people here aren't old enough to realize or to remember that when Psycho first came out, the original Psycho, it was greeted with screams of laughter. People laughed at it all the way through. In fact, it's so much so that Hitchcock declared that it was the first time he had ever been outthought by an audience. He knew it was going to be funny, but he didn't realize it was going to be that funny. And well, they were all funny. They found most of it funny. Let me just to detail. Is this interesting? Yeah. We were in Chicago, and then we went to Boston, and there were certain scenes that weren't being heard. The dialogue wasn't being heard because people were laughing so much. And Hitchcock, at one point, he said, "I'm going to call Universal. We've got to go back and we've got to redub some of this. We've got to remix some of this because the audience isn't hearing the dialogue." That's it. It wasn't from screams of horror. It was from laughter. It was from rollicking laughter. So that's just one of those odd things that, you know, that's what 1960 people do not remember that. There's a gentleman who looked like he might remember. I haven't got my glasses on, but you look a little bit older than some of the people here. Go ahead, tell me.
At the very end, yeah, people found it was very funny. The dialogue mostly between you and John Gavin when he comes back. That was the funniest stuff.
In Psycho 1.
Yeah. But also, I was going to ask you a question. I just ran it again the other night on video. And when you come running in the dress at the end, I heard something I'd never heard before. If you listen very carefully, there's a voice screaming, "I am Norma Bates."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Because I know you didn't do the voice.
No, I didn't. It's also very funny. There's a scream in there. There's a sort of a silent scream when Gavin grabs Norman, and the wig comes off and that whole deal. But the reason that scream is silent is that I was working in New York at the time. I was doing a musical comedy. I was singing on stage. And I couldn't strain my voice to do this scream, and Hitchcock understood perfectly, and we got along real well. It was a love affair right from the start. And he said, fine. He said, we'll put the scream in later. But when he saw it, he liked it so much with the silent scream, he left the silent scream in. So that's how that happened. Yeah, way in the back.
Tell us about Pretty Poison, your experience on that. It's my favorite of your film.
Pretty Poison. Okay, yeah. Pretty Poison. Well, one of the interesting things about Pretty Poison, again, I guess I'm presenting a kind of consistent character of myself as a working actor, but because in Pretty Poison I had a difference of opinion with Noel Black on almost every point. Noel Black and I couldn't see this thing together on anything, right from the very first meeting we had. Much less. I mean, it's easier to get together in meetings when you're talking with the director and, you know, you're nodding each other, you say yes, 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 but when you get on the soundstage, everybody's standing around, you've got your ideas, he's got his ideas, and you know that you're committing it to film now and forever. You know, it's not one of those, well, tomorrow maybe we'll do it slightly differently, like you can in a play, which is always what makes the making of a movie so exciting, because it's not the conflict of the wills necessarily, but it's the getting together of the wills, it's the meeting of the wills, it's the parting of the wills, it's really a great thing if people can get into sync. But I was opposed to his ideas on every level. And it was funny because I didn't want to take any time. So on the way in, I would say, look, Noel, this is what I think should be going on in this scene. This is what I think he should be doing, one thing or another. And Noel was a very, very sweet guy, and we've remained friends all these years. Noel would nod and say, well, I don't see it that way. And he would go on and give his version. I would consistently do his version because, as I say, that's the way I think it should be. But I guess if I'd done my version, it might not have ended up being one of your favorite films. So maybe it was a good one. Yes, sir. Fear Strikes Out. You know, could I really connect with that part? Actually, how did that happen? I can't remember. See, was that a talking picture? Was that something? Let me try to drag myself back to Fear Strikes Out. I was very enthused, yes, and I had just worked with that director on a live television broadcast. And again, the relationship between the director and the actor always has electricity behind it, positive or negative. In my case, I tried to make it as positive as possible, as I've just detailed for the last two questions. But never was it more dangerous and capable of being ready to break up into flames as it is on live television, where not only you don't even have a second take, you don't have anything. You're just on there with your pants down. I mean, it used to be a real tough scene at live television. And so when you found yourself getting into a disagreement with the director on live television, wow, I mean, theoretically, you had all the cards, because you could say at the very last minute when they'd say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you could say, sorry, Charlie, I'm going to do it my way. And a lot of people did do that, and a lot of careers were very, very short. No, it's absolutely true. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the truth. There were a lot of instant stars on live television, stardom which did not endure. Why? Because these people were too mavericky. You know, they had to do it their own way. Am I going on too long on each of these questions? I see impatient hands, and it's like I feel I should be scurrying on to the next thing. Tell me, lead me. Tell me, should I go on like this, or should I answer more questions? Go on. Okay, take my time. So, okay, keep your hands down. I swear I'll just go wherever I can get, and we'll do it that way. Or you can choose among yourselves who you'd like to ask questions, because I can't see too well. I haven't got my glasses on. To get back to your question, Bob Mulligan, Robert Mulligan, who was the director of this television show, and it was very, very difficult show, that particular one. Kim Stanley was the star, and you know, she was a great actress at the time and still is. But she was at the heat of her career, and she was really an astonishing creature to be working with. I'll never forget it. And there was potential for disagreement on that TV show, the one that I'm talking about. And it didn't happen. We all got along real well. So somehow he got connected with Fear Strikes Out, and when he contacted me, that was one of the things that made it sound that I felt I could do it, because it was a very, very difficult part for me, and very like many of the things I've done. It was his encouragement. It was the fact that I'd worked with him before that gave me the feeling that I could tackle it. Yeah. Okay, you sir.
First of all, I want to say he looks terrific.
Oh, do I really? Okay, great. Yeah.
I think you were brilliant in Francis Hampton. Yeah.
Oh, I like the part very much. Now, I could do about 5 minutes on Crimes of Passion. Should I do that? Yeah. Okay. Crimes of Passion is one of those, again, it's the whole director thing. You know, Crimes of Passion is one of those things where I really, really got along tremendously well with Ken Russell. In fact, I'd never met the man. I was cast in the role without ever meeting him. We basically only met right there over costume fittings and reading the show. I mean, it could have been a real, again, one of those big combustible things, because he is the guy who does not suffer fools gladly. And you can quote me, this man is a maverick, and he's brilliant, but he does not like to be fucked around with. I mean, he is, if you get on the wrong side of him, you know, it's not the happiest day you'll ever spend on this downstage, let me promise you. But I decided I was going to make the most out of working with Ken Russell, and I wrote him a long letter that I sent him in England even before he showed up, and I said, look, let's just pretend that we know each other real well. I said, I'm very outspoken, and I'll tell you exactly what I think about what I'm doing and what everybody else is doing, and even what you're doing. I hope that's all right with you, and please feel free to say anything you want to with me. I'm not uptight, and I'm sure you're not either, period. Well, I never heard anything from him. He didn't answer the letter. He didn't. I didn't expect him to. I was just expecting to get together with him, as we did. So there we were, reading the script for the very, very first time, and it was, again, one of those combustible things. Is everybody going to get along? Is Kathleen Turner going to be okay with me and with the guy, you know, John Lofton? He was fabulous. And so we read the script, and I thought it was somewhat. I thought it needed more juice. And the part that I was reading, the part that I was playing at the time, was a psychiatrist. The guy was a psychiatrist. He was a shrink. He sat behind his desk, and he sort of had these long monologues. If you recall, there were some long speeches and things. And those were speeches which he spoke into a tape recorder. And he was like her shrink. And I said at this meeting, you know, it seems to me this shrink thing is a little old. I mean, we've been through the whole shrink number. I mean, why couldn't this guy be something else other than a shrink? Like what? I said, well, he could be anybody. He could be just a weird guy, like a wild guy, like one of those guys on the boulevard, you know, who carries around a little stand and does a whole Bible trip. How about that? Turned to the writer and said, that sounds like a good idea. Fix it. Now, I call that a really wonderful director. For several reasons. One, he wasn't afraid to listen to an that's a good decision, or a good suggestion. In other words, he wasn't afraid to accept it, which made him a big guy. And he also wouldn't have been afraid to say he thought it was a bad idea. That also would have been okay. And it also showed that he had an elasticity of mind, an elasticity of decision-making, which would permit him to change his own mind and have his own mind be altered. And, you know, altered states, sure. I just thought it showed such a big guy. I nearly burst into tears. I was so impressed at the largeness of that gesture, the way that it didn't take him any longer than that to consider it and to make up his mind and go ahead and take it in. And of course, that's what a director, a movie director, has to be doing all day, every day anyway, but sometimes the decisions are a little bit smaller than that. Okay.
Did you see the Psycho TV takeoff?
Did I see this?
How did you know about it?
Okay, great. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Did I see the TV Psycho, you know, the Bates Motel? With Bud Cort, yeah, and what did I think of it? Well, I had to watch it. You know, people say, you're not going to see that, are you? I mean, we've seen the trailers and it doesn't. I said, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to sit down and go, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch every minute of it, and I don't want to take any phone calls of people saying, you know, oh, don't you think it's great or don't you think it's awful? I said, I just want to see this thing. And, you know, this will probably be my only opportunity. It's a TV show. It's not going to be something I can go down in the neighborhoods and see. Probably won't be even able to rent it. They don't rent that thing out, do they? That's good. So I watched it. I watched every minute of it. I thought it was just terrible. I thought it was a desecration of the Bates Motel, and just that movie did and Bud Cort called me and he said, you know, what do? I said, you just got to get this together, you know, because actors, when it comes down to the crunch like that, you know, you'll very, very seldom find one actor saying to another actor, forget it, you know, you asked for this, you've got it, you know, lose my number, take me out of your Rolodex. I sympathized tremendously with Bud Cort because I thought it was going to be a real difficult thing to do. I had read the script previously, by the way, and when he called me and he said, you know, what do you think I should do with this? And I know, what's your advice? I said, your advice, and it's funny, I gave him this funny piece of advice. I said, get yourself together. I said, do exercises, do push-ups, comb your hair the right way, make sure your clothes are exactly right. I said, because this is a big movie of the week, a big-time movie of the week. People, casting directors and people are going to evaluate you and your look and what you do for the next 10 years or 5 years on the basis of this thing. So it's very important. This is big exposure for you. So basically, I gave him actor's advice. I said, you know, really be good in this, and I wish you well. And I definitely did. You know, I mean, as I say, most of the time actors are very, very on each other's sides. But I didn't think the story was good, and I didn't think the idea of trying to make this fantasy, these suicidal kids or whatever it was. I couldn't follow it. I tell you that. I tried. I watched it all. Yes, sir. Less of a guy in my book. One of the things he did to Janet, which was kind of funny, at one point I said, you know, I'm trying to tell this story. I really can't ever get the story right. The story always sounds real dull, but I'm going to tell it anyway, because if you think about it, you can make up your own version of the story. And it will be better than my story, because as I say, I can never quite get the timing right on the story, but the bare bones of it are this. And I'm not going to try to tell this like a story. I'll just tell the ingredients and you can make a good story. But this is how it happened. It was in this sandwich scene, you know, where Norman brings the ingredients for the sandwich to Marion Crane. And Janet started really seriously asking Hitchcock about the making of the sandwich. You know, should she put butter on? Should she put mayonnaise on? Should she put the ham on before the cheese? Should she get it? And Hitchcock, who, again, like Ken Russell, knew how to make a decision quickly, kind of stopped everything. And he zeroed in on this answer. And he had her doing it a number of different ways. And he would ask her to think, and behind his back, he's like summoning the crew to come and stand around and circle and kind of gawk at Jen and she took the sandwich. They would say, well, wait a minute, maybe it was better with the ham first before the cheese. Now, this is where the story doesn't go anywhere. It's already had its laughs, whatever there is to it, because finally she caught on, you know? I mean, that's the end of that story. It doesn't have any ending, this story. I'll have to work on the story, but that's what happened. But that was an example of him playing a joke on her, and it was innocent. She got a good laugh out of it too, you know? Any movie, any feature film particularly, can use some little stupid thing like that to kind of break up a day, and he was a master at that. Yes, sir, way in the back.
Yeah, I thought Winter Kills was a very overlooked and not much seen film, so any interesting anecdotes about that?
Winter Kills, I didn't ever see Winter Kills, so I have never seen that picture. I don't know, there's another picture of mine that I have never seen because people say I'm really good at it, you know, and I don't want to go and say, what is it they see in this performance? I don't want to be disappointed in the reputation of this picture. This performance has this in Play of His Plays with Tuesday Webb. But Winter Kills, I really can't tell you too much about that. I was only on the set for a couple of days. But I had long speeches to do. I was in Broadway at the time, and I remember I would do these speeches over and over and over and over again. I would do these speeches hundreds and hundreds of times. I was determined that because I was going to be jet lagged, I was going to be thinking about the play, I was going to be thinking about getting back to Broadway and doing so. One of the things I did, I just took those speeches apart syllable by syllable by syllable, which is the right way to act anyway, especially movie acting, in which there is no time for rehearsal. But I can't tell you anything about that film. I never really saw it. I like Bill Richard, though. Bill Richard is one of those multi-enthusiastical guys. I mean, everything you do, oh yeah, look at that great salt shaker. You know what I mean? He gets off on everything. He gets off on acting, gets off on writing and movie making in general. That's the kind of director I very, very, very much like. Yes, sir.
You've done a lot of work, genre and non-genre. Do you find that you have a reputation as a specific genre actor?
I guess so, but you know, I don't think about that. I used to think, oh well, you know, people only think of me in horror films, or people only think of me as Norman Bates, or people actually call me Norman Bates. Well, they do. Well, let me put it to you this way: they used to. People used to say, "Hey, Norman," and now that would be their way of greeting me, and I guess it was a perfectly all right way. It was my resistance to it that made them keep doing it, you know. But as soon as I got hip to the idea that my resistance to that was what was probably permitting it to happen in the first place, I dropped all that, and then people started calling me Tony. So I don't know. I think I took I was able to kind of get the idea that my career and I were two different things. So they may associate my career with the horror genre, but I don't know. That doesn't really get to me anymore. Although it used to. It used to really used to bug me. Yes, sir. What's that again? I didn't understand the question. Tell me. Ask me again. Show you something of Norman Bates.
Right here.
What is that? What is that exactly? Tell me. Listen. Okay, I'm going to put these on. No, give us one of your looks. No, I can't do that. But I'll tell you, it's amazing how quickly things come back to you. When I was doing Psycho 2, I hadn't touched the part of Norman, you know, for many, many years, for what, 20 years or something like that. And I was sitting in Richard Franklin's office, and he was auditioning some girls for the part of what was her name? Yeah, Meg Tilly. But what was the character's name? Mary. Come on, what? Mary? Yeah. And he said, is it okay if we videotape some of this? Can we put some of this on videotape? And so I found myself in front of a video camera. You know, those things never go away. You're always going to have those videos will come back to haunt you, just like this one will come back to haunt us. So I found myself having to come up with it, and I realized I was going to have to do any of this acting that very day. And I found myself having to kind of like summon up Norman, like from one second to the next, and I didn't think I might be able to do that. So I did what you do when you've played a part before, and when it's a part that's kind of haunted you and kept you going. I said, Norman, you know, show up now. I need you to get me through this tape. So there is a point to this story, believe it or not. There is a moment in that scene that we were reading together where he said something about he was using the word cut for cutting the sandwich, I think. Isn't that how it was? What was it? What is it? Oh, cutlery, thank you. And I stumbled over that word. On that reading with Meg Tilly, as we were sitting there in the director's office, I hadn't even thought of this. I hadn't even ever read the scene before, but this cutlery line came out of me. And Richard said, oh, and by the way, when we get to that scene, when we do it, I want you to do that very same thing in the film. I said, hey, what are you, am I a performing dog? You know, I mean, but that was Norman, you know, that was Norman coming down from wherever he peacefully, I hope, lives. And I was receiving that from him and doing that of him and about him and through him. And sure enough, I did the film too. Yes, sir, Red Suspenders. Mm-hmm. Charles Bronson, he was a doll. You know, Charles Bronson was really feeling great right then. He was at the peak of his career, and this was a slightly more serious film. It was intended to be something just not quite so. What are those pictures he makes? Those, well, death worship types of pictures. It wasn't that kind of a movie. It was kind of like slightly more psychological. And he liked the director very much, and I liked him too, as I'm being, you know, consistent with myself. Every director is brilliant and great. Have I run out of time? Am I supposed to be over by now? No. Okay. No. So he was feeling wonderful, and we got along real, real well. I thought he was absolutely sensational. I loved it. I'm a big movie fan, and I remembered his career right back from, you know, when he would play in House of Wax and so forth, and I would talk to him about House of Wax. And that was like a generation ago at the time, and he was happy to be in the presence of someone who even remembered that he was in House of Wax. So, yes, sir. Make this announcement. Okay. The Making of Psycho 2 will be shown at 6:30 in the film room. Okay, The Making of Psycho 2.
You played a great Psycho in a movie called WUSA. Was that part fun in that film country there is?
What was WUSA fun to make? Yeah, I was just actually discussing that from this gentleman here. That was the film I was talking about that I just walked down and did a couple of days on. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because I knew the lines so well. You didn't have to worry about what I didn't know. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about making the Psycho 4 you had as well. In Psycho 3, I don't remember them reading your rights. So why don't you say that?
You don't remember them reading?
Your rights when they arrest you?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. So what part, I'm missing this, what part are you making?
So,
Why didn't they?
You have a story to make Psycho 4.
You mean the story about how they didn't do that, and so he was really should have gone free? I like that. Yes, you. Of all the movies I've done, what was the one I enjoyed making the most? I guess maybe the most enjoyable one was the first really big one I made, that Friendly Persuasion picture, because, you know, I wasn't really in the spotlight there. I was able to sit back and watch Gary Cooper. You know, that's it. They don't make them like that anymore, I tell you. And I didn't have to carry the picture myself. I was just working once in a while, and it was beautiful, and I thought the message was good, and William Wyler was a genius, and in those days, they used to have the greatest lunch. I mean, lunch, with the lunch table, with the lunch on it would stretch the length of this ballroom. You know, guys in white hats carving these things. I mean, it was far out. But I like the writing of that, and I like the way, I like the fact that I didn't know anything about movie acting, so I didn't have to be technical. I didn't have to think about anything. I didn't have to know about lenses and know about camera moves and know when to be one way or another. Things that most movie actors know. The director, I thought his ideas for making the trial were crazy, and I thought his version of the part that he was having me play was insane. I mean, I couldn't get into I couldn't emotionally be in agreement, in accordance with what he was asking me to do, but nevertheless, I did it. Right? Perplexed? I was perplexed. I would have liked to have been twice as perplexed, twice as haunted. This guy was too cocky. He was peculiar. Okay, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I know. That's an imprint, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Oh, it definitely has rubbed off to the next generation. The shower scene. No, I mean, I bet you there's a whole bunch of people here who know that I wasn't even there for the shower scene. I was in New York doing this musical comedy that I was talking about. That entire shower scene is shot with a double. With someone else playing Norman. In fact, Hitchcock didn't even want to have me doing that because he thought my silhouette, my broad shoulders, and my narrow waist would give it away. And so the outline, if you'll notice in Cycle 1 of the mother, is very, very unlike my own outline. It's one of the very few cheats in the entire picture, but it's clearly not the outline of Norman Bates. Hitchcock was very, very eager to play fair with that entire picture, but in that particular case, he was willing to bend his own rules a little. Yes, sir?
Psycho received several nominations at the Oscars, and the basic bottom line is that it's an extraordinary performance by yourself. That is that film. You are that film. And were you surprised that you were overlooked?
Oh, I don't know. I never paid much attention to that kind of stuff. You know, I tell you, this is the Oscars, and how come didn't I get nominated for Psycho? And didn't I feel bad? And I guess I did. But you know, that sort of a film, that sort of a role has never been the role of a killer, of a psychotic guy who's antisocial and dangerous and murderous. That's not typically a nominated role. I mean, I may be wrong. Is it? Can anybody come up with a?
Nobody did a great job working on it.
Who? Frederick March, yes, but he was essentially a good guy who sacrificed himself at the end and committed suicide. So Mr. Hyde wouldn't. Fatal. Sure. Okay, so that's one. But there are few. Of course, there would be one, and there probably are a half a dozen. But there are few. There are very, very few. But to tell you, I had a good run-in with the Oscars, though. After this, I could hardly be expected to be too uptight about it because I shot my water on that entire one, and that was I'm in Rome in a cafe, you know, and I'm listening to the nominations for Friendly Persuasion and for Best Supporting Actor, whatever year that was, 1956 or 57, whatever. And they said, and the winner is, so help me, and the winner is Anthony Quinn. You know, in that split second, your whole life, your career. So, I mean, it was like, what else can happen to me now? Having been through that one, having narrowed the odds, took two, it's a 50-50 flip of the coin. So that was tough. Sure.
I've heard a rumor that somewhere in the vaults at Universal there is a color version of the original Psycho that Hitchcock had shot.
A color version of the original Psycho? Boy.
They said getting away or something.
Oh, I don't think so. I wouldn't imagine that would be true. If you think about it, if you reconstruct how that particular rumor would start, it's not founded in logic really, because his job, what he wanted to do was make it so expensively. It would have meant that he would have had to strike at the black and white print off the color negative, and it's clearly not that. So he would have had to have made two versions. I think if you really look at it clearly, if you really take that question seriously, you'll see that it couldn't be so. He wouldn't have been able to make it as reasonably as he did to have a separate color negative, and the negative, the print that we have is clearly a black and white negative, not something that's been struck in color. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us something about the
Last of SHEILA. Okay, I thought The Last of SHEILA was a good idea and a very, very fine script. And no, I mean, I really did. The fine part was getting to work with Stephen Sondheim, and you know that obviously made it fine right there. But I thought The Last of SHEILA as a movie had some slow spots in it, which don't keep it as quick as it. Well, we had something in mind a little bit zippier. And I thought Herb Ross did a beautiful job of putting it on, but the style of the film, we had envisioned something a little bit more almost comedic. Sure.
A little bit, can you talk a little bit about your new project?
My new projects? Oh, you mean Mr. Christensen? Okay. Was anybody there? Was anybody at the screening of Mr. Christensen the other night? I'd like to have a word with you privately. I want to know, you know, because there's nothing more nothing more revealing than running your picture for the very first time in front of an audience. It's fascinating. You know, all the things that you didn't think would work that worked, and all the things you thought would work that don't work. I mean, it's most amazing experience, and we had one of those last week, and we're now back in the editing room. You know, doing the things that you do. You make the things that work more predominant, and you try to figure out why the things that didn't work. It's a comedy. It's certainly a comedy. It's not a movie about cannibalism. That's one of the things that we're really going to have to fight when we sell this movie, because it seems to be about cannibalism. And as the story starts to, I'll be right with you, sir. I see you with your captain. You will be next. As the story unwinds on the screen, the story of Mr. Christmas Dinner, you feel you are seeing a movie about cannibalism, and that's a subject that I think most people don't want to see. I mean, I'm not talking about Motel Hell, always one of the greats, you know, I'll see that every time. This truly one of the big, heavy films of all time. I mean, that enters the pantheon, doesn't it? What is it? When they're feeding those poor geeks? But I ran those films, and I looked at Eating Raoul, and I looked at some of the other pictures which sort of fringe on cannibalism. I didn't like the subject, and I wanted to make sure that the picture we made, the comedy that we made, who asked me that question? Where are you, sir? Yeah, the comedy that we made wasn't, didn't make people squeamish about it, and I think we succeeded. But the problem is, the thing we're going to have to make an audience aware of is that our movie isn't about cannibalism. It doesn't have a cannibalism. It doesn't have cannibalism scenes. It doesn't have cannibalism grossness, and that may disappoint some of the people who are sitting around here who would prefer that it did. But in all honesty, in defense of the picture, it's a comedy. It's not a cannibalism picture. The other thing I'm about to do, real soon, next week, next Sunday week from today, I'm going off to make yet another version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, I mean, wow. So one more to go. I don't know if you saw the ad in the trades for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, there were two huge pictures of me, one on the left as Jekyll, and then one on the right, kind of in a blue, horrific, like frozen, like fearsome, like crazy, as Hyde. But the thing that was amazing was even Jekyll looked a little crazy. And I must take that along with me, because I think it's more fair if Jekyll also has his problems. You know, if Jekyll is all like Spencer Tracy, real perfect, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, real noble and perfect, and then he becomes Hyde. I don't think it's as perfect as if you see, or it's not as appropriate, I meant, to Stevenson's novel, is help me with a sentence. It's not as appropriate as it would be, or hopefully will be, when you see that Jekyll himself is a little screwy. Okay, yes?
You're definitely one of the most typecast actors I think in Hollywood history. I want to know, were there any scripts that you had turned down that maybe now you wish you wouldn't, or any characters, contemporary characters that were offered to you, you passed up, or any that you wanted to do but didn't get the script?
Oh, well, the whole idea, were there scripts that I didn't get, were there opportunities that I missed, were there things that went wrong, did I get too typecast? I can answer those all in one sentence. You can't think about that. You just let it go. It's really tough. Anybody can have a short career. But to still be up here, what did this lady say? 35 years later, I'm still here. You have to have some... bounce back. You can't let it crush you. You can't let it get you. And there's so much that can get you. Forget failure. How about success? Success can get you. Success can shipwreck you worse than failure. Because when you have it all, and you suddenly see your whole life as perfect in front of you, well, sometimes that's impossible. Many times. Well, I don't need to name the names. The hundreds of names that have either gone down the drain or lost their magic or turned their lives in the wrong direction. I mean, it's the toughest business. Jesus, it just, you gotta keep bouncing, you know, you have to let go, you never, to have any regrets in any life is crazy and stupid. And of course, as you get older, when you get into advanced age like I am, it's easier to, well, no, I mean, seriously, it's easier to be able to let things go. But I think all my career, ever since I first became a star, you know, in 1957, something like that, I was over the title. I was over the title on Broadway before that, 1954. Tea and Sympathy on Broadway, my name was over the title even then. I'm sorry, that's such a treacherous position. And if you left not working, or what the makers would by force of the strength of the original, like the first one best, because if you didn't like the first one best, you wouldn't want to perpetuate it by making sequels. So the first one has got to be the best. In the Psycho films, that's definitely true. One of the reasons it's true is because with Psycho, with the original Psycho, it's the originality of the plot. People say, and this happened, and this happened. You can tell the story of Psycho 1 around a campfire to Boy Scouts who have never heard the story before, and it will work as a story told, told at night and sitting in a ring. So that's marvelous. Very, very few films can make that statement. Even very, very few horror films. So original. The story itself, you say, what? It's what he did, what she did, what. I mean, that's obviously missing. That's an ingredient, and a very important ingredient that is missing from the second and third Psycho pictures. But that wasn't what we were trying to do with the sequels. We were just trying to keep in touch, you know, keep kind of up to date with the characters. We weren't trying to outdo the original. We weren't trying to remake the original, which is inimitable and could never be improved upon. Yes, sir. Right next to the lady who said I've been on the stage for 35 years now. Yes, sir. Where will it be filmed? Okay, for some reason, I don't know, it's got to do all to do, you know, with international banking, stuff like that, and all, I don't know about stuff like that. I'm making that picture in Budapest, you know, in Hungary. If you're in Budapest next month, look me up. I'm sure I'll have some free time. So we'll get together and we'll talk about horror films, and thank you very much for having me.